Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the 13th Man Podcast. It's Shane alongside Frankie, as always. Hope you're all having a wonderful one, enjoying what has been a crazy time in CFL free agency. We have a crazy episode for the next hour. How are you doing, though, Frankie?
I'm all right, other than the fact that Facebook has changed how I have to share this into the groups now. So it takes forever, which is, it's so fun, so fun.
Yeah, see, you handle the Facebook groups. I handle everything else.
Okay, come on, Shane. Let's give me a little bit of credit here, please.
Okay, to be fair, you also do like the editing and the posting and whatnot, but that's because I don't have access to it.
Yes. Yeah, I kind of didn't give you that. Yeah.
But we have a really crazy episode, and we're gonna start with something that kind of got me into some hot water because Frankie went out and bailed, being like, I had nothing to do with this. Because you didn't. Okay. To be fair, you actually didn't.
When you posted that on the 13th Man account, I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna get us killed, like both of us. He's gonna get me taken down with him, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. This is not my thing. Okay, this is you. So I'm putting you on the spot, man. Like you're the one that's gonna talk about this here.
I mean, okay, so if you hadn't seen, and I'm surprised if no one has at this point, on the 13th Man pod, like on the Twitter page, I released a list of betting favorites for the Grey Cup. And if you know anything about betting, most of the time it's based off of roster construction. Who's on the roster? We see it in NHL. They talk about replacement level players above, below, whatever the case may be. So I looked at, and this wasn't just me taking a spin off of my head. I looked into the rosters currently. And unless there are some significant ads by some teams in the West specifically, I do not see how they are favorites. So it's a big one. A lot of people were mad. Not going to lie, though, I loved it seeing, especially Rough Riders and Stampeders fans coming to defend their club, being like, oh, how could you do this? You don't know anything. You're drunk. You're hot. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious because, hey, it's discussion. I loved how some people thought I was trolling Stamps and Riders fans. Not gonna lie, that was kind of funny.
Well, that was one thing. I saw somebody mention that we must be out clickbaiting, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't like, because we've both discussed multiple times that we're not doing that. We have no interest in being one of those click farms or being NHL trade rumors.me of the CFL. So I didn't love that comment. But I think it was good discussion, and I think it was funny that everybody, including myself, just kind of piled on top of you for that one.
But here's the thing, though. I defended it, and no one had anything to say about how I defended it. So I look back at obviously the 2020 ones were kind of all in shambles. They were projected off of last year, like the way last year finished, and the rosters, right? That's how it works. If you go back to 2019. And that's what I did. I looked back at the 2019, and according to OddsShark, and they were using from Bodog. So I tagged the article off of Daily Hive. They mentioned Bodog and they mentioned OddsShark. They had the Calgary Stampeders on April 2nd, 2019, the favorites to win the Grey Cup because of Mike Riley. That was it. The article was literally just like, with Mike Riley in the fold, BC's the favorites.
Which, looking back on that now, was absolutely ridiculous.
Montreal was, the team that no one expected to even make the playoffs. They were second in the East division. In the East, realistically, maybe with a little bit more experience, could have beaten Edmonton in the East semis. But I think so. You look at that. You look at that kind of construction of how they did the odds. So my prediction on how the odds are going to shake up is with Edmonton number one. I think Edmonton going into the season are the favorites. I think we could both agree that what they've done with their roster so far is phenomenal. Losing Sewell sucks, but you add Lemon, so you're not losing much. You've added Derek Dennis and brought back Sir Vincent Rogers. You've added in Darrell Walker, brought back Craig Ellingson. You brought in, Jonathan Rose. So I think we can agree that Edmonton's number one, right?
I think either Edmonton or Hamilton's got to be number one. And I'm just fighting to get a picture of this tweet up. But before I can do that, we'll just quickly mention what it is. Shane has got Edmonton number one, Hamilton number two, Toronto number three. You have Winnipeg number four, BC number five, Montreal number six, Ottawa number seven, Saskatchewan number eight, and Calgary number nine.
Yeah, so way to steal my thunder. But yes, that's the list. Those are my 1 through 9. So we'll skip 2 through 7 because that's a different discussion. Everyone was hounding me for Saskatchewan and Calgary. The only reason why people have Calgary in the top 4 is because of Bo Levi Mitchell. And personally, just like how it was wrong to put BC number 1 in 2019 because of Mike Riley, putting Calgary in the top 4 or top 3 because of Bo Levi Mitchell is just as wrong.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with you, but I just can't. I cannot put Calgary number 9. Oh, we've lost Shane again. This seems to be kind of a trend that's happening. He's back now, which is wonderful. Good, welcome back, Shane. Good to have you.
I don't even know what happened. I guess I clicked and I don't even know what I clicked. I have no idea what I clicked. But, okay, have you looked at Calgary's roster right now?
It's barren.
You have Kamar Jordan and Josh Huff, who are your 1-2 receivers. Good receivers, but neither of them have been a number 1 receiver in the CFL. You played Eric Rogers and Cardero Law, who a beast in the middle of the field for Cardero Law, in that front 7, in the trenches for you. Eric Rogers was your number 1 receiver. He's probably a top 5 receiver in the league.
Yep.
You trade them because they don't fit your scheme. I understand that, Dickinson and Huffnagel, they're very good football personnel. They can put out a winning product. The problem is, though, that, turning of players comes back and bites you in the butt eventually. There's a reason why these dynasties end after a certain point. Bo Levi can only do so much. That defense has some major holes. That offense, across the O-line, some major concerns. And on that receiving front, as a defense, I'm looking at it as cool. I can double Kamar Jordan, put my best, my second best corner second best corner on Josh Huff, and I'm going to force one of these unknown receivers to win a game. I'm going to force the running game into it, and Kareem Carey should be dominant again, should have a good year. But with those little, weapons, you can also stack the box.
I know what you're doing with the looking at the current rosters and releasing your odds as of right now. But I think a lot of my thinking right now revolves around the fact that I know this is not what the Stampeders are going to look like. They're gonna bring in some guys that are going to be impact players for them.
Who? Who are you going to bring in? Do you think Sewell gets less than Cordero Law? Do you think Collins gets less than what Eric Rogers got?
Would you? I mean, this is what we saw the Red Blacks do last year, right? I don't think we're going to see something as catastrophic with them, with the Stampeders. I think they're going to be maybe not the best team in the West. I think that ship has kind of sailed at this point. I don't know how they could compete with the Bombers right now, assuming Zach Collaros is as good as he was as advertised last season and stays healthy this year. I don't think there's anybody touching them. But that being said, I can't see Calgary be a number 5 seed in the West. Can you legitimately see that? I
can see them being a 4 or 5 seed. You're realistically, okay, I think my opinion looking at the rosters, unless somehow they can get Sewell and Collins or Judge or someone like that, and those big name players, I do not see how Calgary is better than BC, Edmonton, or Winnipeg right now. And yes, they may have the best quarterback But for the last like 4 years, Mike Riley has been on par with Bo Levi in terms of best quarterback in the CFL. It's him or Bo Levi.
Yeah,
1-2 every year.
That's been the battle since Bo became the starter, really.
So if you look at paper, BC's coaching staff is better than it was in 2019. Their roster is better than it was in 2019. You're going to have a Mike Riley back. So on paper, BC, Winnipeg, and Edmonton are the top three. You can put Calgary ahead of, and the reason why I have Saskatchewan ahead is because I like their offense better. I think they have more offensive weapons than Calgary does. But they have just as big of holes on defense. If you lose Hughes for $15,000. What was it? $15,000? $1,500?
Yeah, 15K.
You're probably going to lose Judge. You might lose Sullivan. So those are three big pieces in your front seven, and you're going to have to face Winnipeg. Who do you think is going to stop friggin' Harris from running over that defensive line, that front seven? I don't understand how, if you look at these rosters, you can justify putting either Saskatchewan or Calgary in the top three.
Oh, no, I wouldn't go that far for either of them. But I think just knowing that, like, Calgary is kind of like the New England Patriots, right? Whenever you think they're dead, they're just not.
Until this season.
And then, like, can I really believe that a team led by Bo Levi Mitchell and with the management they've got is just going to go away without a fight? No, I really can't.
No, but if you look at the strength of the schedule, you're not playing, like, they only play Ottawa once, and then they only play Toronto once. You're playing more Western teams. You have to play like Winnipeg more times. Like the reason why I have Montreal and Ottawa ahead of Saskatchewan and Calgary is because they have to play Hamilton and Toronto more times than they play, Edmonton and Winnipeg and, BC. Because you have, like, the strength of schedule is in favor to the East teams than it is in the West. Obviously, that's why they play the games, right? If it was all on odds, they would just have handed BC the trophy last year, right? Put your best team forward and you'll win the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes. So obviously I could be wrong. Calgary can come out and, go 15-3 for the season, being the best team in the league and winning the Grey Cup. Very possible. But unfortunately, odds do not base it off of coaching history or GM history. It's always based on the players on the roster that are going to be playing the game.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, Ottawa would not have been like sixth in 2019 in probability to win the Grey Cup.
Yeah. Well, let's move on from that before we spend our entire episode talking about that. Obviously, Shane, you and I are very close to a trade that shook the foundation of the CFL. Not a trade, but kind of a quarterback swap. That was the big news, and Ottawa fans are still ranting and raving about it on Twitter. Where do you stand?
It's a best
who came out on top?
It's so. Personally, I think Ottawa comes up on top. You have a proven quarterback who's proven to be able to win in the system that you have with Paul LaPolice. Arbuckle, he's had, 9 games as a starter? Dinwiddie's a rookie head coach. Yeah, you have a really good supporting cast, but unfortunately, you're comparing a veteran coach who's been to 2 Grey Cups. One is a head coach, one is an offensive coordinator, winning it with Winnipeg in 2019 versus Dinwiddie, who at max was an OC or quarterback's coach. He wasn't even an OC. Yeah. He was a quarterback's coach. So I think, you've added all the offensive weapons, but you have a rookie starter and a rookie head coach in a division where, Jones is a great head coach in Montreal. You have some really good weapons in Montreal. Honestly, as much as we've been hyping up Toronto, they've added Hughes, they've added Rogers. Coaching is literally coaching and quarterback are their 2 biggest weaknesses on this team. And they're probably the 2 most important in sports.
Yeah. I wrote about this the day after this swap happened. And what I highlighted in that is I think Matt Nichols right now in a vacuum is the better quarterback than Nick Arbuckle. I don't think anybody's going to really debate that one with me. As long as Matt Nichols is healthy this year, he's the better quarterback right now at this instant. Where I think this gets interesting is, Nick Arbuckle's been hyped up to be the next big name in the CFL. And for every Trevor Harris, there's a James Franklin. For every Matt Nichols, there's a Dominique Davis, right? Not everybody's going to come out and be the superstar. 5 years ago, not even, James Franklin was literally the next Bo Levi Mitchell. We talked about that guy. There was so much potential around him, so much hype. Who'd he sign with? Toronto. What did he do? Nothing. He's never done anything in the CFL at this point. Do I think Nick Arbuckle's James Franklin? No, I don't. I think that Arbuckle has the high ceiling, better than James Franklin is, and I think that he has the potential to fully reach that. Is it a guarantee? Absolutely not. Never is that going to be a guarantee.
No, and I mean, there's no guarantee on any player, but I think people, and I think this is the thing that is pissing me off. From my understanding of the situation, from what's been reported, what I've been able to find, the organization, Desjardins wanted 2 years out of Arbuckle.
Yep.
It didn't seem like money was the issue for Desjardins and OSAG and the Ottawa Redblacks. They didn't want him here for a year and then have to redo this. They signed him to a 2-year deal in 2020. They wanted 2 years out of him. So people can say, he's classless and whatever. I don't see how a GM, you sign a guy to a 2-year deal. I think most players who've reconstructed their deals for the same amount of time that their deals that they signed in 2020 were meant for.
Some of them drop down to 1, but a lot of them are kind of different situations, right? Like, I think when I listened to Marcel speak, he did mention that one of the reasons he didn't pursue Matt Nichols last offseason was because of his health. They questioned if he was healthy. He's healthy now. Absolutely, he's healthy now.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a tricky subject because you have fans that are attached and they think it's great, but what has Nick Arbuckle really proven in the CFL?
That's the thing, right? In his 2 years in the CFL, he's thrown 263 passes. I've seen people call him a franchise quarterback. He is not.
He could
not
be.
Yet. He could be. Potentially a franchise quarterback. Potentially the next superstar in the CFL. Also potentially a backup by the end of the season.
And here's the thing. He signs a 1-year deal, has a bad year. Okay, who's going to touch him at that point? Like, I don't see why. I think honestly, if I'm Arbuckle, I'm pissed at my agent. Because why the hell am I signing a 1-year deal?
I think he's self-represented. I don't know if he has an agent.
Well, if he's self-represented, then he's screwed himself. Because why would you give yourself a year?
It's tough, and I don't want anybody to think I don't like Nick Arbuckle. I like the kid. I want to see him do well in Toronto. I hold nothing against him, and I really hope for the best for him and his young family. But that being said, football is a cutthroat sport. The Red Blacks think that they might have a better quarterback for the right now in Matt Nichols, and he's on $200,000 at the start of the season, then another $100,000 throughout the year.
Yeah,
$300,000 you're paying for that quarterback. That gives you the opportunity now to add things around him all over the place. Yeah, that's a really good contract for the Red Blacks.
And even outside of money, like if you're in Arbuckle's situation, you want stability. So why are you looking for a 1-year deal? Why are you looking at a deal where if you play poorly, like realistically, if he plays poorly and a guy like Mazzoli or Dane Evans hits the market, what is stopping Toronto from cutting ties with Arbuckle and then signing Dane Evans or Mazzoli or any other quarterback that gets the next big light? Right? And I think that's the problem that I have with it, is that I think it was a short-sighted decision on Arbuckle's case to want a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I mean, what do we have? What do we know about what's best for his career? But you're right. Like if he doesn't play as well as he possibly could have this year, or he struggles in the Argos situation, all the weapons are there for him to use. He shouldn't be terrible. But if the Ticats decide, Jeremiah was always not the guy for here. Dane Evans is clearly our starter. Is Toronto really gonna say no to bringing in that kind of quarterback? I don't think so. So all the pressure's on Nick Arbuckle now. And for the Red Blacks, like Tyson just said there, the Red Blacks brought in a legitimate starting quarterback right now. And I got laughed at when I said, if Nichols comes in here and wins the Red Blacks the Grey Cup, what does it matter? And people told me that it's ridiculous that they win a Grey. It's not. It's really not.
People thought it was ridiculous.
A solid roster around, like for now, before free agency, the roster on paper doesn't look terrible.
They want to, like, people didn't expect Burris or Harris to lead Ottawa to a Grey Cup. The roster around Nichols features Saunders, Sinopoli, Coombs, Harris, Flanders. They have Galanders. They lost they cut Crockett, but you look at that offensive arsenal. There's pieces there. There's actual offensive weapons for them to use.
Same with the Argos as well, right? But the question there is, right now I am more confident that Matt Nichols is going to step on that field for opening night and be a better quarterback than Nick Arbuckle would. And that's nothing against Nick Arbuckle again, but I do think Matt Nichols and his connection with Paul LaPolice and his seniority in the league is going to allow him to have the best possible chance of success to bring the Red Blacks back from a 3-15 season.
But here's the thing. So if you're Nichols, you basically LaPolice is probably going to run the same system that he ran in Winnipeg. Yep. So the playbook. All you have to work in camp, instead of learning the playbook, you just have to get your timing down.
Yeah.
You can learn your playbook in the offseason. That's great. Like, that's what you should be doing. But you have Davis, who has spent a year under this playbook already. He's probably learned it already. So you have a familiar face with Davis. You have a familiar face in LaPolice. So, hey, okay, it's basically the same thing we're going to run that we ran in Winnipeg. Solid. Nick Arbuckle went from learning a playbook with LaPolice, now having to learn a whole new playbook with under Dinwiddie, plus the timing. Nick Arbuckle's in a worse situation in Toronto than he would be in Ottawa in terms of the fundamental side of being a quarterback.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. One thing I do want to bring up too, I want to run this past you. Jordan Zlamazlik brought this up today on his Twitter, talking about Lucky Whitehead. And how Matt Nichols completed like a ridiculous amount of passes to him or targeted him for a stupid high percentage of his passes in his first games before he got hurt last year. Does it not seem like Lucky Whitehead would be a great fit in Ottawa right now?
I would love Whitehead in Ottawa. I think Whitehead in Ottawa would be the next best thing since Deontay Spencer.
Well, and you still got Devontae Dedmon, right? Like that. Decide who you're going to kick to. Devontae Dedmon, who had 3 kick return touchdowns against the Alouettes and won them a game in 2019? Or do you kick it to Lucky Whitehead, who can just as easily turn around and burn you down on a kick return?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Okay, you have a quarterback and this is the thing that's interesting. You have a guy who's been around in the league. There's a lot of respect for Nichols in the CFL community. How much easier is it to go to a player like Whitehead or screw it. We're going to go big. Ricky Collins. How much easier it is like, hey, Ricky, we want you in Ottawa. You get to play with Sinopoli and RJ Harris, who have a name in the CFL. You also get to work with Matt Nichols. Obviously, it's no Mike Riley or Bo Levi, but it's still a bigger name than Nick Arbuckle.
Yep.
There's a reason why they're trying to get why Toronto is getting a bunch of Stampeders onto their roster is because they know Nick Arbuckle. Because Nick Arbuckle doesn't have the same kind of respect, in my opinion, that Nichols has when it comes to players around the league.
Well, that's just a given, right? Like, we're talking about a guy who has started 7 games versus a guy who's been playing professional football for 12 years, right? Obviously, they're different things. But, I feel that Marcel Desjardins, for all the flaws that he has, right? If that thing about him not talking to Arbuckle from Christmas on until hours before the deadline to get the deal done, if that's true, that's a problem, right? I think we can all agree to that. I'm going to take what Nick said with a little bit of a grain of salt, and I'm going to take what Marcel said with a grain of salt as well, and I'm going to try to build the truth somewhere in the middle, but I'm never going to figure it out, right? Nobody's ever going to know. So, if we're just looking at this in a fair, who's going to be better this year, I'm taking Matt Nichols, and then we're going to have to see what Nick Arbuckle does after that. If he turns into a star, obviously the Argos win. But if he doesn't, if he turns into a James Franklin, I think we all know who wins, right? Not hoping that happens. I'm hoping Arbuckle can be good.
Wins first.
Sure. Fair enough.
Realistically, if Ottawa goes on and wins the Grey Cup in 2021, well, guess who won?
Yeah.
Nick Arbuckle, Toronto loses. Ottawa wins. Even if we don't win the Grey Cup and Nick Arbuckle ends up as a backup back in Calgary next season and they bring in Dane Evans into Toronto, well, Ottawa wins.
Yeah, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. I do want to – Tyson brought up another thing that I want to talk about quickly because if you remember back a couple of months ago, they made that gentleman's agreement that teams weren't going to go over the cap floor. Like, does it just not feel to me like there's some teams in particular that aren't playing along with that anymore?
I honestly don't even agree. I don't even think it happened. I don't think there was a gentleman's agreement. I think it's stupid. Why would you agree to why? Because Montreal can't afford to bring in the players that Toronto can? Why should you lessen your chance? It's all about winning. It's all about putting, especially if you're Toronto and BC. You want to bring fans in. Obviously, fans this year are, a possibility, not a given right now.
We don't know.
But you want to bring viewers to the game. What do? You want a winning product. So why should it be up to Toronto or BC or Edmonton to lessen their product because Montreal, Ottawa, whoever doesn't want to spend a little bit more money? I don't know. I don't think there was a gentleman's agreement in place, and if there was, well, I don't think there's any more.
Well, that's it, right? Like I've been asked this many times by like friends and stuff if I think the teams are going over the cap. I think that's not happening. I don't think anybody's going over the cap right now. I think what they are going over is that gentleman's agreement that they may or may not have agreed to. But the salaries are so low right now that I find it hard to believe that teams are getting over the cap.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the roster and the contract details released through 3 Down Nation. Like, I don't know, players want to play. Maybe there's more to the contracts that were known, so maybe like under the table or performance bonus money or whatever the case may be. Maybe they're like, hey, if you come in, you're going to get that Grey Cup money.
Yeah.
Take a little bit less to come to us and, look who we have. Look what we're building. You can get that Grey Cup money at the end of the year. Right? So realistically, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. And if teams are hindering their own success or are trying to play in that pool of, we're not going to spend too much money. Well, I hope they have a shit season. And I think we're really going to see teams who didn't spend the money have bad years.
It depends what they get, right? Like if you go out and you spend good money, I think you'll be fine. But if you go out and you spend nothing, like just exactly what the Red Blacks did, right? If you spend money in the wrong places, you're going to suck, right? And I'm talking about the 2019 Red Blacks. Well, we'll see. I mean, free agency opens up on Tuesday, so we're going to have to see what happens.
How do you lose Charleston Hughes over $15K? He has 130 career sacks. He is 27 sacks away from the record. All time.
You know what?
CFL. How do you He's had 3 straight years of 10+ sacks. He had a 16 sack year and 16 sacks twice in the last 3 years.
I don't think he was going back no matter what. I think there was an article written, I can't remember where I saw it from, but it basically said that it was all about respect. He didn't feel like he was being respected anymore, and he wanted to go. And I can see that. I think he probably would have taken a pay cut to go somewhere else.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe O'Day actually just didn't respect him and did something like offered him more.
I do want to move on though. We've got 2 little bits of news today. The Bombers this morning re-signed Steven Richardson, the defensive lineman, and the Ticats re-signed DeVere Posey, who was kind of one of those players that I really was hoping Ottawa might have a crack at. But he's staying in Hamilton. And then, of course, you mentioned Charleston Hughes headed to Toronto. That happened last night, I believe. Or yesterday, sometime yesterday.
And you had Eric Rogers signing on with Toronto. You had Danielson or Daniel Robertson, the other piece from that trade from Toronto to Calgary. He signed on with Toronto. No word on Cordero Law. Mondo Siwa was released.
I think Cordero Law re-signed, did he not?
I have not seen anything. I might have missed it. I've been at work all day for most of the day, so I might have missed it.
I believe he did, but I can't find anything right now. Which
what an under radar signing?
Sorry, I'm. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Technical difficulties there for a second, which is fantastic. What did you ask me?
I can't remember.
Okay, cool.
So apparently, he did.
Yeah, he's re-signed.
He officially signed yesterday. So something we just overmissed because Toronto has so many signings. So Toronto's gotten better. Let's be honest. You have Charleston Hughes and Cordero Law. They were a menace in Calgary. If I'm Ottawa, I'm pissed that I didn't sign Derek Dennis, and I'm looking at Matt O'Donnell, the guard out of Edmonton.
That's the direction you expect the Red Blacks to go. You've brought in a quarterback who, he said, I've only had 3 injuries, is what he said in Ottawa radio. But, the 3 injuries he's had, like he tore his ACL and then he came back and had season-ending shoulder surgery last season. They're not small injuries he's had. So going after some good offensive linemen, and Matt O'Donnell's Canadian too, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he's a national.
Yeah, so that seems like a good fit to me. The question is, do you want to spend the money to bring him in? I hope the answer is yes. Because if you could protect Matt Nichols, the guy was on an MOP pace last year. Let's not forget that. Let's not pretend like Matt Nichols is a bum. I'm done doing that, right? That's something that's bothered me. I'm so tired of seeing Matt Nichols slandered all over social media right now. The guy's a good quarterback.
Holy shit.
What has happened?
I keep forgetting that Matt O'Donnell should be playing basketball. He is 6'11".
Yeah.
Sign him to hell. If I'm the Blackjacks, I sign him to a freaking contract and then sign him to a Red Blacks.
Patrick Ewing's son got hired by the Blackjacks today, so that's good news.
They also announced the expansion team to Montreal in 2022.
Okay. Look at that. Some competent run leagues in Canada.
It's easy. Yeah. So, realistically, I don't know, man. If I'm Ottawa, I'm looking at Matt O'Donnell 100%. I'm disappointed that some of the O-linemen, like Stanley Bryant, re-signed in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the O-linemen that are free. Mike Filer and Matt O'Donnell. Those are 2 guys that I would look at if they were to hit free agency next week on Tuesday at 12:00.
Another thing I gotta ask you this: how does Edmonton plan on getting to the Canadian threshold with 2 American offensive linemen? Because that's not something that we see very often.
I would not be surprised if they go skill positions on the defensive side.
You have to.
Running backs,
Like,
I don't know. They'll
it's-
find a way. They'll find a way.
Well, I mean, I haven't spoke to Kevin Brown recently, but he hasn't been re-signed either. Doesn't it feel like Edmonton's where he's going to end up too?
Oh man, who knows at this point?
Like, that's a storyline that I'm very interested to follow. How does Edmonton reach the Canadian threshold with two American offensive linemen? Like that, we just don't see that in the CFL.
I mean, there are two American defensive linemen. There's Charleston Hughes, offensive lineman Derek Dennis and friggin' Servi. That's either your left side. That's either your left side completely. You have because Dennis has said he can play guard. So you have Servi on your left tackle, Dennis as your left guard, or you do
and at that point.
Toronto did.
Good luck getting through anything.
Yeah, or you do what Toronto did in 2012, and like they did with Chris Van Zyl and Tony Washington. You had Chris Van Zyl, Hall of Fame guard or tackle on your right side, and Tony Washington on his left for Ricky Ray.
Yeah.
So you're going to have Derek Dennis and Sir Vincent Rogers or vice versa. Doesn't matter. This O-line is going to be scary.
Well, it's going to be a really good offensive line. Absolutely no questions. Just how do you get enough Canadians on the field at a time?
What's the threshold again? It's a 6 or 7?
At a time?
Yeah, like in a game. Isn't it like half, so like 11? Or something like that? The ratio's not overly big.
No. But you can't just have useless Canadian players out there, right? You have to find impact players that can make plays. That's why a guy like Brad Sinopoli is so valuable, and Andrew Harris is so valuable. And as far as their kicker situation goes, I don't know what they have there because that also counts.
So you need 7 starters. Generally, 5 of them are your linemen, so you only need 2. Realistically, I'm gonna go to their roster real quick. It's doable.
Mm-hmm. It's just not common. We just don't see it very often.
Hey, well, we don't see a lot of things very often.
Like football being played with fans in the stands? Right. Gotcha.
We're not Toronto, okay?
So
they have try to cross-reference this to their free agency. A little bit harder to do because the CFL does not have things laid out properly, like ever.
No.
Like their CFL tracker, like their free agency tracker is absolute garbage.
Yes.
But it is doable. Like you could see, they do have a lot of nationals on their team. Jordan Badier, David Beard, Azar. So you have Beard and Azar, who are your two offensive linemen. You have Kwaiko Boateng on your defensive line. So there's 3. You can probably look at Jordan Hoover playing as your starting safety. Mike Jones could be in there as like your 3rd or 4th receiver option. So that's 4. And then you could probably add a couple of guys in free agency. You have like Eric Blake. You have a couple of linemen. You have a couple of DBs that can probably get in there. It's doable.
Yeah. I also want to talk briefly about them bringing in Sean Lemon and letting go of Armando Siwa, because they let go of a really good player, and I see a lot of Edmonton fans that are really upset about that. And if you remember, I don't know if you saw that, I took out the EE out of the Edmonton logo and I put a money bag in it.
Yeah,
people were very upset that I did that because they didn't re-sign Sewell. Just saying. But they've got a lot of big name talent. The question is, can they put enough around it now? Because that's something that they struggled with in 2019. You brought in your Harris, you brought in Ellingson, some others, I can't remember who though, but they just couldn't surround it. It didn't end up working out. So you've still got those 2 guys now, and you've added a bunch of other talent. Can you surround them now?
I think they have, and I mean, looking at that, like, can we just start calling them the Edmonton Green Yellows until they officially? I'm gonna start calling them. They're officially for me the Edmonton Green Yellows until they announce a goddamn name, because they have the Red Blacks former OC and DC on their roster, former Ottawa like Red Blacks GM, quarterback, receiver, DB, lineman.
What do you think? What do you think about that Elizondo hire too?
It's about goddamn time he got his freaking coaching job role in the CFL.
Shane, I really did not like him in Ottawa.
See, I didn't like him either, but I also didn't like Harris, and I felt like Harris was a bigger problem than Elizondo.
I think, that's tough. I think he's part of the reason why the Red Blacks were so bad in 2019. Him jumping ship, right? Him jumping ship that close to the start of the season definitely played a role. And I think,
I don't know, man. If you bring in a competent OC that early to training camp, it's not like, Rick Campbell could have just kept I'm sorry, but I think it's a lazy excuse now. They're professionals. I think that what hurt was their inability to bring in an OC, an official OC.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Him quitting so early, everybody else kind of had jobs. So,
I'm sorry, there are guys that you could have found that are middling in U Sports or NCAA or probably were just recently let go from the NFL that probably would take a chance.
You could have gone that direction, but you need a guy who knows what he's doing in the CFL.
Then go to Carleton or Ottawa U.
They know what they're doing in U Sports.
I think you're underestimating the talent of U Sports coaches.
Well, I'm also just thinking about a guy stepping into the room and putting a guy in the spot and saying, you need to be here now. Like, you are not in the right spot. Will a player immediately take that from somebody who has no experience?
Yes.
Will they, though?
It's either they do or they don't play.
It's fair enough, I guess.
You say it's a cutthroat sport. It's either you play for your coach or you don't play at all. Remember, teams have no obligation to keep the players around.
Either
Ottawa,
way.
Okay, here, for example, Ottawa let go of Lucius Purifoy in 2018 because him and Thorpe butted heads constantly.
Which, I thought Noel Thorpe might be the Red Blacks head coaching contender. Thank God he wasn't with some of the stuff that has been said about that guy.
I'm just saying that this is it's either you play for the coach or you don't play. And some of these youth sport coaches have a lot more respect and know the game a lot better than some of the American coaches that are coming up to coach. And this is my problem that I have with the CFL and with CFL organizations. Stop hiring friggin' Americans. Stop. Just, if you want to promote the game, look at your youth sports guys. They don't need to learn the game. They've been coaching it. I understand that, okay, some of them are good. Some of them are worth it. Some of them have played in the CFL before. That's fine. But if you're looking for a straight out just an offensive or quarterback coach, and you don't even look at a guy in an offensive coordinator or an offensive line coach in the CIS before looking at an American, that's the problem with the CFL right now. You rely too much on American product that you're ignoring CIS. And that's my issue. I honestly, and this isn't to knock American coaches, but you want to promote the game internally, give coaches an actual reason, university coaches, give them the ability to be a coach in the CFL.
Okay, Shane's rant done. On to what I wanted to bring up. I think the Jamie Elizondo hire is one of those ones that we're going to have to wait and see. He hasn't had the head coaching role before. I thought his play calling was awful at the best of times. And if you want to know how to stop him, just don't let him run up the middle on first down and then stop the hook route on second down. It's a punt. That was it. That was literally all we had. It was bad. So I'm not in love with that hire, but they just like to take all of the Red Blacks cast-offs too. So
yeah, I know. I think Rick Campbell was more of an issue with Ottawa than Harris and Elizondo, but I definitely feel like they played a part in it. It's going to be interesting to see Elizondo in a coaching role.
I think so. Also, another story that was really interesting to me was Brian Burnham, because we were hearing that it was either BC or Winnipeg. I thought like at one point it almost seemed like he was good as gone from BC, and then here he is. He's back in BC now.
Hey, things change. Things change
apparently,
quickly. Like, and I think that's the thing is that like, you really never know what to expect from the CFL when it comes to player transactions. Things can change really quickly.
Like that's a big get for them too, and I'm saying get because, whatever. But without him, I don't know how many weapons Mike Riley truly has to play with, because he's like obviously the top tier guy they have. If they lose him and they're like, oh well, Dominique Rhymes is my number one now. No, like that would be very, very
Dominic
bad.
Rhymes wouldn't even be close to their number one.
Well, Dominic Rhymes played a little bit too big of a role for the Red Blacks last year, and I know Rick Campbell really likes him.
Yeah, I never understood Rick Campbell's love for him, but
Dominic Davis likes him too a lot. But like, I knew that he'd throw the ball to him a lot, but he just couldn't catch it last year.
I'm pretty sure they have another guy outside of him, the former Calgary player. God damn,
is this a guessing game? Am I supposed to guess who it is?
No, I just Lamar Durant. Now he would become your official number one.
Yeah. Well, either way,
Shaq Johnson. Like, okay, real, and this is the thing. You have Shaq Johnson, Lamar Durant, and Burnham. Oh, I said Byram. Burnham as your three receivers with Mike Riley and a competent head coach in Rick Campbell. You're going to tell me that offense is not better than Calgary? This all goes back to the betting lines.
Well, it depends what Calgary ends up getting, because we'll mention it here. Ricky Collins Jr. was just cut. So where does he end up? Like, could
I'd rather
you
that
see a world?
top three than friggin' Josh Huff, not Lamar Durant. He's in Kamar Jordan and Ricky Collins.
There's still other guys out there too. Like, we'll eventually find out where Natea J is headed, and that, like, he could be ready to have that breakout season. Like, who really knows? And like, if he does go to Calgary, Natea J, I kind of expect that breakout season to happen.
Maybe, I don't know. And that's the thing is that some of these guys, like, there's so many question marks with some of these guys on where they can fit in teams.
Yep. I'm just looking here for any other things that I really need to talk about.
I don't know. I think
did we bring up Mazzoli being re-signed with the Ticats last episode? Did we talk about that?
I don't think so.
Because that could be our last thing. What does that mean for Dane Evans?
You have a quarterback challenge. You have the same thing that you were going to have last year. You're going to have to come in and win the spot. And guess what? It became that much harder because Mazzoli is just not much more ready to compete for the starting.
He's healthy too. Like, I think it would have been pretty interesting to see what would have happened with that front, though, had that gone down to the wire a little bit more. Would the Red Blacks have moved on to Nichols if Mazzoli was still available? I think yes, but I think it would have been a little bit more of a storyline that would have made some things a little bit more fun. Would the Argos have gone with with Nick Arbuckle if Jeremiah Mazzoli was available?
Who knows? But that's not the case right now. My interesting is Montreal. They've been very quiet.
They have.
Tyson.
They just
Tyson,
cut John Bowman today.
Yeah, Bowman to Sask, HB Dam.
See, okay, look, HB damned is a little bit of a weird thing to say when you just got rid of Charleston Hughes because he's 37.
Yeah. Isn't Bowman like 40?
Bowman's old, just as old, if not older, I think.
Yeah, like he's around the same age. I'm pretty sure they came into the league together.
So,
and just as a capable edge rusher,
he is 38, so he is older.
Yeah.
But like, it just, to me, it feels like either A, Almondo Sewell, or B, John Bowman need to be in a Red Blacks jersey by the end of this.
I think Sewell, but like, okay, who? If you look at Ottawa's defensive front, who does that remove?
Well, Avery Ellis never re-signed, did he?
Yeah, he signed. He re-signed like a couple days ago.
That was Avery Williams.
Let me see. I'm on their tracker, so I can find out if he re-signed. Pretty sure.
I'm almost certain that Avery Ellis has not been re-signed.
Yeah, he was extended January
Was he?
15th. Yeah.
Oh, well, I missed that one. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, no, okay, so this is Ottawa's right now. They're according to the CFL, it's Kevin Brown,
Yep.
John Crockett, which I'm pretty
Who
sure
was
was released. DeAndre Ferris, who I think actually signed today. I might be mistaken.
I don't think so. I think that was
Devon-
Gump Hayes. That was Gump Hayes.
Yeah,
Gump Hayes
Devon-
resigned today.
yeah, Devon Hayes, Evan Johnson, who I think, he could be out of the mix, and you bring in a guy like Matthew O'Donnell. We had two guys retire, Michael Clayson and Caleb Johnson last year.
Yeah.
Abdul Kane was re-signed, but yeah, you have Ettore Latanzio, who hasn't re-signed. Jason Loazo,
who won't be back. He's been one of
He's
the
done.
weaker members of the offensive line.
Christoph Mulumba Tishminga, who
He resigned
re-signed today. Don Wamba, who I'm pretty sure re-signed too.
No,
Might be mistaken.
no, has not resigned yet.
Who was the one that? Oh no, that was the Montreal guy who went back.
Enoch Mulumba, yeah.
Yeah. Michael Wakefield. So I mean, okay, yeah, you can replace.
Wakefield plays more. He plays more of D tackle, but yeah.
But I mean, you could replace Wakefield with Cleon Lang and then push Sewell into that 3-tech.
Yeah. Like you can get away with that. Even I think honestly,
that's it.
Tyson, I know you like that, but I think my favorite CFL name of all time is Ironhead Gallen.
Yeah, that's fair.
Come on, man. His name's Ironhead. That's sick. Like Almondo Sewell's that guy. Like if me as a Red Blacks fan, what could Marcel Desjardins do to make me happy? It's him. And you know what? You know what the other thing he could do to make me very happy, Shane?
Come on the show.
CJ Gable.
Why?
That's a pretty solid running back to have.
I don't know, man. He lost the job and went, like Edmonton didn't sign last year.
That's okay.
I don't know.
That's okay.
I don't know. I'm not really.
He's only 33. He's only 33.
So give Galanders a goddamn chance.
You can have the chance. Give me CJ Gable. Bring him in at camp. If Tim Flanders wants that spot, let him win it. If Galanders wants it, let him win it. But give me put CJ Gable in my backfield.
No, because you know who Gable reminds me of?
Who?
Walker. Siobhan Walker, the first 2014 running back guy.
Bring him back too.
Who lost the job to CJ Gable? Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to want to bring in running backs who've lost 2 jobs.
I mean, you're not bringing him in with a massive signing bonus, right? If you bring him in, it's risk free.
But still, it's why recycle old I don't mean this like in a rude way, but running backs are such an interesting position.
They are.
Why would you release John Crockett, who's like 28, and bring in a 32-year-old CJ Gable?
Well, because I think at this point we kind of understood Crockett's not coming back. I think if Crockett would have come back at the number you wanted him, I think you probably would have brought him back because he was relatively productive in 2019.
Relatively, I mean, but he's not a starter. Like he won the starting job.
I think he could have been the next Will Powell. I don't look at Will Powell and say, yeah, that guy's going to rush for 1,000 yards every year, because he's not. I don't think he's necessarily the best running back in the league. Not even close. But he gets.
Okay, to be fair, no one's close to friggin' Andrew Harris.
Yeah, but I question what that running back position is going to look like, because I think there's only one team in the league right now that I look at and I say, yeah, well, I mean, I guess Montreal. If
I mean, Hamilton has a pretty good running back. And dude, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That Powell isn't gonna run for
Can.
1,000 yards. He's ran for 3 straight.
That's fine.
That's more than fine. That's
But
fantastic.
right now, do I think he's going to run for 1,000 yards every year?
He
No.
has run. Okay, here's the thing. Last year was his first full season playing a game. He played all 18, ran for over 1,000 yards. He had,
Do you remember his start though?
yards.
He went like there was one game where he had like 250 yards, wasn't there?
Yeah, and then they stopped him and they, friggin' boxed everyone into it, and then that's why Fajardo
And then
came in.
Cody Fajardo went nuts.
Yeah.
So, like Will Powell's like he's good. I just don't think that he's
probably the second best back in the league right now.
I don't know.
Who would you put ahead of him?
Stand back?
He's been out a year. He didn't play he didn't play in 2019. Or no, he didn't play in 20. I mean, he did. But
okay, so if we're gonna use that as a qualifier, then I don't know.
Okay, realistically, your top 3 are going to be what? Stanback, Harris, and Powell. They have to be.
Yeah.
John White, Crockett.
I mean, running backs kind of rotate in and out every year, right? Like there's not too many guys that would have been in that top 3 5 years ago that are in the league now. I think Andrew Harris is the only one.
I mean, I agree, but it's just like I don't think right now, if you look at the running backs right now, I think Stanback, Powell, and Harris have to be the top 3 running backs in the league
right now. But I mean, let's say for argument's sake, James Wilder Jr. comes back. Now
I don't know, man.
Once we know there's going to be football again, how does it look then? Like we don't know.
Man, I would not put Wilder ahead of any of the 3 above because you really don't know what you're going to get out of Wilder.
Well,
is he going to be rookie?
Again, not right now. But come let's say midway point of the season, Wilder literally could be the best running back in the league again.
Could be, but I think if you look at consistency, which is a huge thing for running backs, you're not going to I don't see Wilder being that guy when you can look at consistently. Are you going to get the Wilder that kind of flunked out of Toronto, or are you going to get rookie Wilder who could have easily went 1,000 and 1,000?
That's what I'm trying to say, essentially.
So, you talk about consistency. Like Wilder hasn't proven anything.
Yeah,
he was. If anything, he's proven that he's a one-hit wonder.
Tyson's essentially said what I'm trying to get at, but just couldn't figure out how to say it. Like he will find you positive yards, but he's not going to be the explosive Andrew Harris.
No, but he's not that guy. He's the power runner.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Harris is a power finesse runner. Like he has slick feet, but he can also run you over. William Powell will just run you over.
Yep.
And it's just like John Cornish. John Cornish is a lot like Andrew Harris in terms of he will either run you over or make you break your ankles trying to tackle him. Like I remember there was one game, I think against Saskatchewan. It was either Saskatchewan or Edmonton. He took 7 guys with him, broke 7 tackles on the way to a touchdown, and it looked like he broke a guy, literally broke a guy's ankle. I miss John Cornish in the CFL. I miss watching him just dominate on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and then Kyrie Saber happened.
Yeah, him and his headshots.
Yeah. He's good at them, at least. You got to give him that.
Okay, so here's the thing I wanted to run by you before we wrap up.
Yeah.
We've seen the success so far of the interest in the reverse retro concepts in the NHL. Okay.
I like where you're going. Let's go.
Montreal, we saw them last game. We saw Tampa today. We've seen most of them all week, and we're expecting Ottawa to drop theirs tomorrow on Saturday against Montreal at 1:00. But, Calgary was expected to release a throwback jersey. Ottawa was expected to release a red jersey. How much, if you're a fan, would you love to see a third color jersey or a redo with an alternate colorway of a previous installed jersey? So you would have Hamilton wearing yellow, Montreal wearing either a blue or a green or a red, depending on what jersey they wanted. Ottawa would be wearing a red, Toronto will be wearing their baby blue, like powder blue.
Yep.
Edmonton will be wearing yellow. BC and Calgary will probably be wearing black. Saskatchewan's the interesting one because they are
Go
only
black.
like they could go black. Yes, I'd be adamantly disappointed. Winnipeg would be rocking their old gold jerseys, and I know you didn't follow the CFL when they had these jerseys, but for the people who are listening or watching,
You're talking about the ones they wore
with
for the
Buck
away
Pierce,
games?
they had like an actual like gold jersey with
Yeah,
Buck
when they
Pierce.
played it in the Reeboks, yeah.
Yeah.
I know which ones you're talking about. Shane, come on, dog.
You started watching the CFL in 2014,
They
okay?
had them then.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
No.
Reebok was a jersey manufacturer that year. Yes, they did.
They did not have.
Shane, they did. They did. They didn't have a
didn't.
white jersey until Adidas took over.
Oh no, not those ones. No, not that gold one.
Because that gold one was stupid. I hated it.
No, they had another gold one from like the mid 2000s when they went to the Grey Cup in like 07. With like Buck Pierce.
Look,
It was basically all gold, with like having. See, I'll bring up a picture of it. I'll just share my screen real quick.
do 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 do.
Don't need your attitude here.
There
So
we
yeah,
go.
this.
Oh, those are
So they had-
okay.
Yeah, so they had these. This is when Kevin Glenn broke his wrist or his arm before the Grey Cup in 2007. So I'm saying bring this back. Or a
Those have
variation
like a very either high school or like really old college football feel to them, and I love them.
Oh man, this. So my favorite player, my favorite lineman, friggin' Doug Brown.
Oh, you know what I don't like about those? The fact that
What?
the Los Angeles Rams use that same font with that stupid gradient number they have. They're like soccer jerseys.
Yeah, but they had them before. But I'm just saying, like, bring these back. Bring back, friggin' these beauties.
Okay, hold on. About this. Get rid of the one helmet rule. Let Calgary bring back the black helmet. Let Ottawa bring back the white helmet. Let Saskatchewan wear white helmets. Let the Argos wear white helmets.
Yo,
Let BC wear orange. Like, come on.
But as I'm saying, if you were to bring back, I mean, this looks very Cincinnati Bengals.
It does. By the way, we're also getting new uniforms.
Pardon?
Bengals are also getting new uniforms.
That's not surprising. They had a black jersey from like the Dave Dickinson days.
Yeah, it's going to give you the CFL signature,
which was ugly. I did not like it.
But like that project worked. Like, do another one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying copy the Color Rush because the Color Rush were kind of stupid, but give us like alternate colors.
Oh,
like,
yeah. So like something like
Reverse
this,
retro
like,
project is perfect.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like that would be ideal for the CFL is do something like that.
I agree.
I just want to see Hamilton rocking a yellow jersey again. Hamilton.
Hey, look, I'm gonna see what I can get. I want to talk to somebody who is involved with this red jersey thing for the Red Blacks because I gotta know, Shane, if that's coming. Because if that's coming, you bet I'm getting a red Matt Nichols jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna wait and see what happens.
I'll have another jersey of a quarterback that never plays it down for us.
Well, no, I just want to see who they bring in because if they bring in Matt O'Donnell, I might have to grab his jersey.
Get two.
Makes no sense.
Get two jerseys. One for Matt Nichols, one for Matt O'Donnell.
I don't want Matt Nichols.
Get a Nick Arbuckle one then.
Yeah, Toronto Nick Arbuckle. No, honestly.
Hey, actually, hold on. Did you see Matt Nichols bought that guy's jersey?
What?
So did you see Matt Nichols? There was an Argos fan.
Bought the guy's Christmas jersey.
Well,
yeah.
Nick Arbuckle hasn't responded to me yet when I proposed that he should do the same thing for me, but
I'm
not upset or anything.
I want to know what Charleston if he wears 6, in Toronto, I'm going to lose my mind because that's the jersey I want to get.
Oh, he'd be the sixth god.
What?
Be the sixth god.
Yo, Toronto Stock Exchange with the repping the 6. Also, he needs to clarify if it's a surfboard or a goddamn snowboard.
Oh my god. You and your surfboard and
What? He told someone surf. He told us surf. He said some people snowboards.
that's fine. It's a mystery.
Oh wow, the Raptors are actually winning a game.
Shane, the Raptors are good, dog. Come on.
Don't they have a losing record?
Doesn't matter. We don't talk about it.
I'm pretty sure they're like bottom of the East this year
Okay,
right now.
look. You can talk about the Raptors all you want, but if you're not going to talk about how good Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, and Chris Boucher have been, I don't want to hear it.
They still are bottom of the East, so I don't care how good they've been. They haven't been good enough.
Fred VanVleet dropped 100 fantasy points for me the other night.
Yeah, he dropped 54.
Yeah. Shane, I have Luka Doncic, and the guy's never hit 100.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
He's supposed to be good.
They're 10th. They're friggin'. I mean, to be fair, they are like literally like a half a game behind a playoff spot, and they're half a game behind 6th, and like 2.5 games behind Indiana. And they're and realistically, they're what, 6 games behind Philly? They could make it up, but like they've still been trash. Anyways, guys, we're gonna wrap this episode up. Filled it in as much as we can. I hope you enjoy the hour. As always, you can follow us, 13th Man, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Give us a follow because we'll be posting more stuff there. Follow myself, Shannon_Ryan97, as well as my Sens Hour podcast, Sens_Hour, Twitter and Instagram. Frankie at HPR_Frankie13 and at HPR podcast, HPR_podcast for your hockey podcast. I'll get it right eventually. He keeps changing it on me.
It hasn't changed in like 6 months.
That's what you say. You can also check out his Hockey Writer stuff where he talks about the Jets for some random reason. I don't know how a Habs fan starts writing about the Jets. It doesn't make sense to me.
Don't worry about it. I have a Jets hat. I'm qualified.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the Jets don't have much going for them this year in terms of
look.
writing.
As I was told, the Jets have a 7-3-1 record. That means I can't write negative things about them.
They should have lost 2 games against the Senators, but that's the point.
Also, if it wasn't for a massive save by Laurent Brossoit, they would have lost, or they would have went to overtime against Calgary. So, say what you want, but if the Jets go to the playoffs playing like this, they're not going to last very long.
Okay. Anyways, that's all for today's episode. You can catch us on our respective hockey podcasts if you enjoy hockey. I mean, if not, well, I mean, I don't know if you're truly Canadian. You might be an American at that point. But anyways, I digress. Have a good one, guys. We will catch you back here next Friday, 7:30 as always. Check us out, YouTube, Facebook. You can find us all there. If you missed an episode, head on over. We'll be broadcasting this Saturday morning, I believe is when we're going to be posting it. It's up to Frank. He deals with all that.
We'll figure it out at some point.
But thank you guys for tuning in. Everyone, remember, follow us on YouTube. We'll catch you later. Peace out. Have a safe one.